This is Daniel Smith from Jets Guru. Welcome to the show. All gas, no brakes. Let's go, Jets. Woo!
Let's make sure we play like the New York Jets. Can't wait.
What's going on, Jets Nation? CJ the Painkiller D. Simone here, and you are watching Jets Guru. Now, give it up for your host, Mr. Daniel Smith!
What is going on, everybody out there? Jets Guru Nation, Jet fans out there, welcome to the show. Listen, as we finish tying up here and just sharing to the rest of our brothers and sisters out there that want to listen, this has not been a fun year for New York Jet fans. Very, very unfortunate. And while we're sharing, if you guys can share us too, at Jets Guru on Instagram, on Twitter at Guru Jets, at YouTube at Jets Guru, and then here on Facebook at Jets Guru as well. Please share. We don't curse. We don't talk about politics. All Jets football all the time. So let's get into it a little bit. I mean, it's been tough, right? Shout out to Gotham City Crew. Watching these games, a lot of people, they look and they say, well, it's a little bit more of the same. To me, that's not really how I see it. Now, 26-0, the Broncos put it on them. Teddy Bridgewater is an accurate quarterback, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, actually has weapons this time around. He looked solid. He looked really good. Again, the Jets played another quarterback that didn't impress me as far as closing out. Now, you look at 26-0 and you go, oh, yeah, the Jets they got pounded. But the Jets had a lot of opportunities to do things. They just didn't seize them. Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, all these guys kind of let the Jets, they hang around because they can't beat you with their arm. We need a solid running game, which takes time off the clock, which some drives get shut down. It's just the Jets never, ever really take advantage of it because they're learning. They're pulling it all together. But listen, it was a tough game. There's nothing to be had from really anybody. I think the main point of the Broncos Jets game, the main take out of it, is there was no direction offensively. Offensive coordinator Lafluer is going to have to learn to use his weapons correctly. First time signal caller, first time OC. I imagine there's a lot going through your head, tying the game together, and you're still learning everyone, right? He's had Zach Wilson for just a few months. These players, it's going to take a lot of time for it to develop. It seems real easy in the offseason, because you're signing players, you're drafting guys that grade well, you're making the appropriate moves and hires, and everything it feels right. But then you got to put on the pads and play. And unfortunately, the Jets have the youngest team in the NFL, and they're starting the most rookies out of any team in the NFL. And they face some really good running teams, like control teams, like the Jets face the Broncos, the Patriots, the Panthers. These are all teams that can't go out there and beat you with their arm. But what they can do is they can go out there and they can slow the game down. They wait for you to make mistakes. And they have solid running games. Obviously Christian McCaffrey was a lot to work with. But I think the Jets have done a good job since then. And you look at the Broncos and you look at how much they ran for, it's not indicative of what the Jets defensive line was able to do. I mean, when you look at it, the Broncos average what, 3.2, 3.3 yards per carry. So it wasn't that they came out here and ran all over the Jets and controlled the game. They just ran the ball 37 times. I mean, the Jets ran the ball 12 times. I mean, you have a rookie quarterback, you're on the road, you're having struggles passing the ball, and then you're running and you're struggling running the ball, but at least your rookie is not being hung out to dry and you're setting some type of tempo and pace. The offensive play calling was just all over the place. Literally, when you look at rookie coordinator Lafluer, I mean, to me, I can't jump on these guys too much across the board. You could judge them game to game, evaluate the game, what they did and what they didn't do. But you're still looking at only 3 games. You don't know how the rest of the season is going to pan out. I mean, even on good years, you look back years ago when Rex Ryan took the Jets to the AFC Championship game. There was times throughout that season where he even said, "Oh, we're out of the playoff race." So the Jets can lose 4 and they can come back and put together 2 wins, or put together some really good showings. It's a long season, it sucks. You got Adam Gase and you have that type of season. And, if you're in the New York media market, there's a lot of shows out here, obviously. So you turn on the radio, it's nothing but hate. It's nothing but, putting the Jets down. And they've deserved it. I mean, the last 10 years, they haven't really done much to talk about. And so they deserve it. So I'm not necessarily jumping on the fans for having a voice. I understand it's frustrating. I watch the same games sometimes multiple times and have to break it down. But there has to be a sense of clarity. And I think when you look at rookie coordinator Lafleur, you have to give him time to get to know the pieces on the field. Like he really doesn't know Michael Carter, Zach Wilson, and these receivers all that well. Like I said, it's only been a little bit of time. Don't you think he's going to be more acclimated with these guys 2 years from now? Like a true rebuild where, like, going into the third year, that's when you should be really competing. But this is the first year, 3 games in. Come on, guys. We got to do a little bit better than that. What I would say is this to LaFleur: you got a rookie quarterback. Run the ball. Even if it fails, even if you're not really getting anything and the drives stall out, you got to keep the defense honest. You got to take some pressure off your quarterback. And honestly, you got to see what your running backs have. I mean, that was one of the biggest things that I liked about this offense and all the different running backs that they picked up, because I said, okay, well, LaFleur is going to bring the Shanahan thing and he's going to have different backs to screen to, backs to throw to, backs to rotate in, and they all have different running styles, which, can keep the defense off balance. Well, running 12 times is not the way to go. And then when you run it 12 times, you're not setting up any play action. So you're not helping out your young quarterback. You're not giving him all the tools that he needs to go out there and win a game against a very ferocious passing defense. To go out there and run 12 times and then have the kid just go out there and try to throw you back into the game. I mean, how did you really think that was going to go? So I think he needs to step back and really look at his play calling and the sequences and how he's setting Zach up. Like, you should be running the ball. You should be trying to get Zach in rhythm. And listen, Zach has to play a role in this too, right? He's got to take the easy throw. The kid has a good arm. He can flick it around. That's okay. But you got to take the easy stuff that's there because you got to keep the chains moving and get some continuity with the offense. The only way you go about doing that is to string together some good offensive plays. And the Jets have yet to do that. They start off, calling the wrong play, to me, in my personal opinion. You got guys up front on the offensive line. Now, McGovern, we've spoke about him before. Okay. We spoke about him before and how he likes to talk to the fans and call them garbage and all this other kind of stuff that he said, couch potatoes, whatever it was. But he doesn't do his job. Stop talking and do your job correctly, and no one will have anything to say. There's too many plays when you're looking around on this offensive line, and there's no one to be had. Oh, well, yeah, no, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, that's what you're supposed to be doing now. So you're supposed to stay in place, look to your left, no one's there. Look to your right, no one's there. And then, yeah, you turn around and see that there's 2 guys chasing your quarterback. That's what you're supposed to be doing? Because the last time I checked, that's not really what you're supposed to be doing when you're a center or you're a right or left guard or any of that type of stuff. You're supposed to be blocking the guy in front of you. You're supposed to be chipping guys. And too often, I'm seeing plays where there's a free rusher coming for Zach Wilson. Listen, you got to chalk some of this up to the familiarity with the playbook. Guys not feeling comfortable next to each other, not knowing who can do what, where. All this stuff comes into play. I don't even really like judging teams until we're about 4 weeks in. Because when we're about 4 weeks in, and I would say even more for this team, I say you can't even really judge how this Jet team is going to be until 6 weeks in because there's so much youth. I mean, you would have to look into the books and see, but this might be one of the youngest Jet teams that's ever played. It's a possibility that's ever been on the field. So there's a lot that's going on, man. There's a real lot going on. I don't think he looks Samish at all. To me, like Sam Darnold's mechanics were completely different than Zach Wilson. Just Zach Wilson already has like what 6, 7 throws over 20 yards or something like that. Like I was begging for Darnold to give me some of those. I mean, and you look how he's playing with Carolina; they're doing a great job. Like, but he's not really throwing the ball over the field. His is accumulation over the course of a game. But I mean, it's McCaffrey, and then you work around him. You get the scraps. But that's what I always say about offense in the NFL. There's offense to be had. So when you have an offensive day like the Jets have had against the Patriots and the Broncos, even with the good defense. Now, listen, you may not put in a lot of points on the board, right? Bend, don't break. The Jets defense knows a little bit of something about that, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But you should at least be able to move the ball a little bit better than that. And that's when it comes not only just execution, but scheme, play calling, and knowing who the pieces are. And all of that is going to come with time. I truly believe that. The problem is with Jet fans is we want to take 50 years of pain and suffering and throw it on these guys who just got here yesterday. We got to let these guys eat a little bit before we kick them out the house. We accept these guys in over the summer. We're all excited. We're all happy. We're all like, oh, these guys are going to change the face of the organization, and it looks like they got the right hire. And then 3 games in, we get married. We get into our first fight, and you're already ready to leave. So 3 games in, you guys are ready to cut bait with them. That's not the way you get. That's not the way it's done, man. It's a full course of the season. Um, Anybody who was expecting this team to win 9, 10, 11 games, you just got sucked up in it because they really did do the right thing. Even if it doesn't work out, they still did the right thing. They empowered their GM. Their GM picked their own head coach. The head coach picked his own staff. The head coach lets the offense coordinator actually call the plays instead of like, I don't know, just standing there. So that's really important to understand too, is that the Jets did do the right thing. Okay, the team did the right thing. You just got to let it stew a little bit, let it work. Now, year 3, the Jets are a 5, 6 win team. Heads are probably going to roll. But year 1, new install, everything, got to let it, you got to give it time. And not just the quarterback, but the offensive scheme, everything, because everything is so new. This is like the greenest Jets team that I've probably ever seen in my lifetime on the field. And you maybe have to ask some of the old timers to see if there was a team in the 70s and the 60s, because it's a young team. And I think something that's not given enough credit, and especially in this Broncos game, was the Jets defense. The offense has been so terrible the last 2 weeks, but the Jets defense, who is super green, especially at cornerback, they did a pretty good job, man. Like you leave a defense out there that long and that many times. And when you look at the time of possession, it may not be as drastic, but there's times throughout those games where like the Broncos, I think they were on like a 7-minute drive or something. Like those things are killer. But they're bending, not breaking. They're trying their best because the offense isn't putting them in a good enough position. And I'm impressed with Bryce Hall and company and Eccles and all these guys. Yeah, do they make some mistakes? For sure. But I mean, Super Green doing a good job. Another thing that's flying under the radar because the Jets and the offense is playing so bad is CJ Mosley. I mean, CJ Mosley is all over the field. He really is. He's done a good job. And offensively, I like what I've seen from Michael Carter and what like some of the things I've been able to see him do running the football. He can run in between the tackles. He can, not just on the outside. He's a small guy, but he can run in between the tackles. He has the footwork to do so. So I'm excited to see a little bit more of him in the future. But listen, the Jets passing attack, yeah, it'll get better with Zach Wilson. I think I really truly believe that. But the offensive line, like we were talking about with McGovern, has to get better, and Van Rotten and company, like they have to do better. Or this kid is just going to have to deal with this. And everyone says, well, Joe Douglas has to fix the offensive line. Well, he's been trying, guys. It's not like he hasn't. I mean, you look at what he did last year, and you look at what he's done this year, and he's done the best what he can. You can't the Jets haven't been in the playoffs in 10 years, have a lot of organizational issues up until now. It's not, you can't sign everybody. Just because you have the money doesn't mean people want to play for your organization, and especially now. And then, fans don't want the Jets to overpay. And because when the Jets overpay, then fans are upset. Oh, we overpaid for this guy. We overpaid for this guy. Okay, so Joe doesn't overpay for him. Then you get mad at Joe for not overpaying him. And I mean, you can't have both, guys. You can't have both. You can't say that you want a quarterback that you can call your own, and then game one you're ready to send them off. You want a coaching staff that's actually hired by the GM. You want a guy who's competent in front of the organization and the media. You want a GM, coach, and coordinator all to work together in the draft so they can pick, draft, and sign players that work for the scheme and the system. These guys go out there, they speak to free agents and tell them how they're going to fit into their scheme, and that's why they want to bring them. No headline signs, scheme signs, right? All this kind of stuff, and nobody wants to let them work. Nobody wants to let them eat, and it's been very frustrating. Not because watching the Jets, because I kind of expected this. Maybe not as bad so early. Like I expected like a sputter this bad, like maybe mid-season. Kind of like what you saw like after Darnold after the Vikings game a few years ago, and then I got a little injury, and I was like, and it kind of trailed off a little bit. And then injured, then came back, finished the season strong. Like I thought it'd be something like that. It's been a little disappointing, no lie, but I just didn't have those expectations. I had us at 6 wins, and I had us at 8 wins if everything went right. Everything went right, and it has not gone that way. Carl Lawson, I think, was a gut punch right towards the end. Everything was just full steam ahead, and then Lawson goes down, and you already felt a little doubt, and then the first game comes, and you get nervous, but then the Patriots really it made New Yorkers feel a certain type of way to get beat like that against Belichick, because we've seen it before and we've been seeing it for 15 years or whatever it's been now. So yeah, it's not easy to watch the games. It's tough, but I know what I signed up for as a Jet fan. And I think people lost sight of that. When you look at the player development, it's just not happening. You're not allowing it to happen. One thing that the Jets are doing that's kind of worrying me is with Denzel Mims. I don't know what's going on over there. I really, really don't. I mean, to be honest with you, um, here's the thing. There's a lot of realities to the NFL, right? When we watch it, we see a good player and we go, he should be playing. He's a good player. Why isn't he producing? There's a lot that goes on. What's going on with the quarterback, the offensive line? If you're a receiver, do you have time for your routes to develop? The scheme, does the scheme fit you? The Jets got a whole new coaching staff. Like, this guy was drafted, but he was drafted by Adam Gase and Joe Douglas. This is a different person, and maybe for what Denzel Mims does, they really don't have a place for him. Now, me personally, I don't understand. Every time I've seen Denzel Mims play, at least in the game, he's looked good, good body positioning, good hip rotation. Just He's just a solid player. He's a nice sizable target. Like you just saw in this play right here, checks the receiver, gets in position to catch the ball, lands in a position where he's able to get down for the reception. The awareness on the sideline to not go out because he had to turn his body and kind of backpedal a little bit. You just long body guy, long strider, quicker than you think. Once he gets the ball, he can really move with it, like you see right here. Good movement, good hip rotation, good footwork right there to cut back. I think this would be a mistake for the Jets to get rid of him. I mean, look at this. Some of this is like double coverage. He's still there, providing options. Some of these balls aren't even like good footballs. And he even said as much in an interview in ESPN after the season, where he said, Joe Flacco just threw a crisper ball. And when you do that, you're able to kind of get out of your break a little quicker. You can kind of get a read of the field after the catch a little quicker. And it's a shame because Zach Wilson has the skill level, the arm talent to throw to this kid, and I feel like he's not getting a fair shake now. Maybe he's completely lost with the classroom side of it, the learning part of it. But I mean, how bad could it really be to look very promising in your rookie year to barely touching the field? has it gotten personal at this point? Has Denzel spoke up and voices his pleasure? Another thing too that I don't think is being talked about is the body language, right? In sports, body language is a big thing, especially with coaches and in life in general, bosses or whatever. You know, bosses don't want to think that they're wrong. They don't want to think that the decisions that they make are wrong. So when you challenge those decisions or you poo poo or you put a sad face or aggravated face on and they see you, they could feel a certain type of way about it, whether they're right or wrong. And if I was Denzel Mims, I would be furious because how bad could this guy really be that he can't even touch the field? Second round pick last year. Like I said, all the things he's done well, how bad could he really, really be? But maybe it's his attitude and how he's approaching things or what the coaches are saying to get him on track. And maybe he's not feeling it. Maybe he's not hearing it. And maybe the coaches aren't feeling him, feeling his vibe. And they see guys like Barrios put their head down and just kind of grind. Maybe it's something like that. Because listen, egos and relationships and how people feel about people, that all comes into play in a football organization more than you think. You got to practice with these people. You got to see them every single day. There's going to be favorites. There's going to be people, who you dislike or you just dislike their attitude, how they approach things, how they take criticism, how they take coaching. Not everybody is a coachable person. So maybe it's something like that. And I don't want to put it on them because I'm not there. I'm just saying that's just kind of like some facts of life. And so maybe it's something more than that than it is his actual playing ability. And so it's how do you know what Denzel Mims has if you don't play him? How could you even trade him when he's had some hamstring injuries and you don't know what he's worth? Like, what are you going to trade Denzel Mims for right now? A fourth or fifth round pick? You're out of your mind. I'm not getting rid of that guy for a fourth or fifth round pick when I just drafted him last year at number 2. You know how sorry that looks? That's terrible. It's a terrible move for Joe Douglas. This kid needs to get on the field. The Jets need all the help that they can, and they need to see what he has. And if he's not exactly a fit, we'll find a place for him. Just like we saw that big reception 2 games ago, it was like 40-yard reception or whatever it is. Find a place for him, but get him out there and use him. Use the big body, use the speed, use the long athleticism, and let him go and do a couple things. And if you don't like him long term, well, then build up his value and then move him. It's assets in life. If you undervalue an asset and then try to sell it, how much do you think you're going to get for it? I mean, that's with anything. Like, so you're undervaluing him by keeping him on the bench, and and by not clarifying in the media. Now you got other people wondering: is it a work ethic issue? Is it an attitude, a personality issue? Does he not work well with offensive coordinators and coaches? All these little chatters come out. You're just taking the value off this kid. Maybe you feel like he's not a great, fit, but I can get him 25 to 30 or 40 catches this year for 600 yards. And I could say, listen, Denzel's a good talent. He doesn't really fit with us, but for your team, he's an 8 to 1,000 yard receiver, maybe. But by keeping him on the bench, you're not going to bring any real value. And that's how you make mistakes as an organization. Because then you go and move that guy for a fourth round pick, and then he becomes a number 2 somewhere. And then it's like, he was on your roster. Like, make it work. You're supposed to be creative, right? You're supposed to be a young, innovative mind, both on defense and offense. Salah, Lafluer, So find a place for him, right? I mean, there's got to be a few plays that you can get for that kid. And if not, why did you wait this long? So you just found out now that it wasn't going to work? I mean, you barely playing him, so how you know it's going to work? So when did you figure that out? When did you figure it out that you weren't going to play this kid? And if that was the case, why didn't you move him then? I don't know. I think clarity is something that the Jets organization still needs to work on. It's something that Joe Douglas needs to still work on. He waited forever last year to inform the team. And then he actually was pretty honest about it. He wasn't very honest about Adam, but he was honest about some of the players like, Anderson and how he, missed out on that, should have basically opened up and paid for him. But uh, I mean, it's a rebuild. This is what this is. This is what this all is, finding out what pieces fit. we wouldn't say this about any other coach, but because we're on the rush schedule, because we haven't been or done anything, and it's very frustrating. But most coaches, they don't even get their full complement of who they want on the roster until like basically year two, sometimes even year three, depending on contract situations. The Jets had a lot of open spots, so by next year, this should be the face of their team, no doubt, because they do have a lot of players that they brought in based on what they want to do. But it's something it's a learning process, all these new pieces being put together. It's not easy. So I would say with the player development, that should be the key for the season, not the wins. We should be looking at the individual players and saying, how could these guys get better? Like, Quinnen Williams, sack and a half last week, came out, looked a little stale, but he was very honest on the radio, and I heard him this week, and he said, yeah, I'm getting back from the injury, and guys, I mean, have any of you ever broke or sprained like a bad ankle sprain or tore your knee or anything like that, or just got injured and had to play sports, or whether that's college or high school or even just recreational leagues and stuff? When you're injured, even when you're like almost 100% and you're getting out there and you're starting to move and play again, it takes at least a few weeks for you to feel yourself, to move up and down the court or to move around, because when you have that injury, you're not doing all the same things that you do to get prepared for the season. You got to wait till you're healed, and then once you're healed, you start the process. And so, with COVID and all this other kind of stuff that's going on, and still not allowed to do a lot of different things, like, you have to be patient with players. And I think with Q, you're starting to see that. Like, you got to give him time, to get loose a little bit. And then you increase the snap shares. And then, you just get into a little bit of a groove. And I think you saw that last week. And it was a very good sign from him. But he said, yeah, like, I'm starting to feel like I'm getting back. It takes a few weeks, ankle injury. Yeah, you're healed, but you're not in game shape. Like, I can go run on a treadmill, but when you're getting thrown around and you're clashing with grown men and you're trying to tackle people, and you're out in the cold or the heat, and it's a lot, and your body has to get used to it for a couple weeks, and then you feel like a little surge. You feel like, okay, I'm getting into a groove now. Like, I'm getting, you have the whole off season, right? You're injured, then you have the whole off season, and then you basically have to have surgery, and then you're just working your way back. So it takes a while, a few months out of that type of contact, and then boom, you're back. So it takes a little bit, and listen, Lafluer, none of these guys are going to make excuses. None of these guys are going to point fingers. And Joey wants Mims to be wide receiver number one. Right now he's like wide receiver number five. So you need to change. We just talked about expectations. I know what you want, but that is not going to happen. And it's trending towards them moving this young man for under what they got him for. I just think if you can't get a second round pick for Denzel Mims, you probably shouldn't move him. And maybe at minimum you go third round pick, but honestly, that's still stretching it for me, because there was a lot of receivers that were still out there at that time that you could have gotten. And this kid has shown that he has skill level, so you need to use him. You can't be like wasting picks. Like, how are you going to go around and do all these little draft trades up and down and do all these moves to better your team, and then something like this happens and you just give them away? Like, that defeats the purpose of all the wheeling and dealing that Joe Douglas has done in the draft rooms and trades. You're like, what is that about? Like, so they need to get it fixed. It's something that they really need to do. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So I'm not going to judge this team fully until probably week 5 or 6, because they're so young and it takes a few weeks anyways. Week 4 would probably be too early, I think, in my opinion. It's way too early. So moving on to the Jets versus the Titans game. Hey, I mean, I'm picking the Titans to win this game. And it's not because I think the Jets don't have an opportunity to win this game. What it is you look at the opponents that have beaten the Jets for the first 3 weeks, and what have they done? They have ran the football. And unfortunately, the Jets are playing one of the best, if not the best, running back in the league in Derrick Henry, who has begun to warm up, mind you. Started off a little bit slow, and then all of a sudden decide to pick it up the last few weeks. And so he looks like he's on track. 80 carries, 353 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tannehill, same old Tannehill. This is what I guess Sam Darnold, or what we wanted Sam Darnold to basically be. Don't ruin it for your team if you can. Hand the ball off to a good running back. That type of stuff is his ceiling. 66 for 102, 756 yards, 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. It's interesting because you see that stat line, and obviously you see a lot of yards there too. But what's good about that is when you have a strong running game, you're going to extend drives. So that's what I'm talking about in the NFL when there's yards to be had that are out there. Sam Darnold could throw for 300 yards and go, wow, he had a great game. And then you actually watch the game and you're like, yeah, he played good, but it's like a lot of dinks and dunks, a lot of yards after catch, a lot of da-da-da, like that kind of stuff. That's what you wind up seeing with a lot of these guys. They're not, 20 plus, 20 plus, 20 plus driving your team down the field like some of the elites can do. It's not like that. It's accumulated. So the Jets could do that same thing. They just have to basically do what teams have been doing to them, run the football, even when it doesn't work. Again, the Broncos didn't have much success, 3.2 yards per carry, but they grind, miss tackle, first down, play action, make a throw, move down the field. Like we could do that too. So with Lafluer, bring it down a little bit, get this kid into rhythm. For Zach Wilson, take the easy throws, and the Jets need to run the ball 30 times in this game. Because they're going to zap the Jets with long drives unless Derrick Henry busts one out, 25, 30 piece or something like that. It's going to be a grinder, a lot of handing off to Derrick Henry. Tannehill's pretty accurate with the football. He does make mistakes, but for the most part, he'll drive the team down. So it's going to be a lot of bend, don't break for the Jets. I know with Corey Davis, this is a big game for him. The Titans basically said, we don't believe, really honestly, that's to me, they were like, we don't believe you're number one. And so they let him walk. And so this is going to be a big game for him. He's going to be juiced up to play this game. It's important that Zach picks and chooses. I think what we're starting to see is that, which is a good thing, is that he's using Corey Davis as a security blanket, but there's a time and a place for it because that the defense is going to be keying in on Corey anyways because he's the Jets' number one receiver, but also because you're starting to notice that Zach is favoring him. And we've seen across the league when you maybe with bigger personalities that make it more difficult. But when you favor some of these star receivers, it could be an issue because teams are automatically targeting in on them. And then you already have a connection where you're looking for them. And so every tight situation, every third down, it's like, oh, the ball's going to come to Corey Davis, so he spreads the ball around nice. But when things are tough, when you're going to have to spread it around and these guys are going to have to catch the football. Like's been stated in the chat a few times tonight already. There's been a lot of drops, and some of them would have been really good plays to make things either easier or even first downs for the Jets. So they have to do a better job at catching the football and helping their young quarterback out because if your offense struggles, that's one thing. But to be dropping footballs, that's a whole entirely other organizational issue because you got to be focused here. There's a lot on the line for this young kid, a lot of pressure on him. Anything you could do to help him out is much needed, especially when the ball hits you in the hands. Lowell offense should be better with Crowder, hopefully, in the lineup. He's going to run crisp routes. I'll tell you that much. Elijah Moore suffering concussion issues. If you don't block up front and give Zach time to throw the football, then it's really not going to matter that much. They've really had a hard time giving him a chance to really scan the field. And maybe that's why he goes to Davis so much, because he's confident in his ability that when he's in trouble, he feels like he can find him. I'm not really sure. But I think one of the ways that you can steer away from that, and I've mentioned it again, run the football. There's no reason why the Jets shouldn't run the ball 30 times. This should be a low-scoring game. This should be a 21-17 game. It should be 17-14, a lot of bends, don't breaks, a lot of field goal kicks, like that type of stuff. That's really what it should be because Tannehill's not going to take the top off your defense. And, what they do is not anything impressive. They just have a really good skill position player, but he runs differently than McCaffrey. So I'm interested to see how the Jets handle this. Some of the smaller, scattier players, it looks like the Jets struggled with, but I'm interested to see, Jay Williams, a little bit more of a physical back. I think the Jets did a good job. Melvin Gordon had a solid game as well, which is cool. But, considering how much the Jets were on the field, I think they did an excellent job. They need to do that again. Um, they're going to be on the field a lot. Derrick Henry's going to probably do his thing. If they could shut down Derrick Henry, let's just say it happens, the Jets are going to be right in this game. I'll tell you that much because Ryan Tannehill will give you opportunities to win this game. Um, I think it's going to be tough for the Jets to really also get some continuity and some rhythm going. If they don't start using the tight end, they need to start setting up plays for the tight end. And because everything has just been on the outside, throwing the football. And I think when you look at that, I think that could be an issue too. So I think you need to start working out the middle, and that's going to set you up for that play action down the field and maybe get some one-on-one coverage, with a guy like Elijah on the outside. But none of that stuff is going to happen. None of those exciting plays that you saw in practice and that you saw in camp are going to happen unless two things. One, you run the ball well, right? Because if you're not running the ball well, like teams are just not going to respect you at all. So, and they're going to pin their ears back. They're going to go after you. And so you're not going to have everything you need to set up for the play, right? And so it's going to be completely taken out of the play by doing it that because if you're not running the football, you have no respect. So if you're running the football, you can do play action, you can do some different things, to freeze the defense. So you make your team one dimensional if you don't run the football. And that's not where you want to be with a rookie quarterback who has 7 interceptions now, mind you. 7. So I think when you look at this, it's kind of worrisome because the turnovers are stacking, and I'm not worried so much about the number. Even if he threw 20 something interceptions this year, it's like, okay, whatever. But it's the confidence level. When you start stacking those picks, you start second guessing yourself. Again, take the ball out of this young kid's hands, let him get into rhythm by running the football, screening. Give back some of the medicine that you've been taking from some of these football teams and dish it out on someone else. That's how the Jets win this football game. You're not going to win this football game throwing the ball down the field 35 times. I don't think that's how that's going to go. But one way that you can do it, again, run the football, work in the tight ends in the middle of the field to open things up on the outside, to free Corey Davis up a little bit. And then listen, Crowder's coming back. He's an excellent receiver in the slot. Find him. He'll be there. So I expect the Jets to play a lot better. I'm not impressed with the Titans defense. I'm really not. That's just me. But if they come out and they look like they did, I mean, they're going to get crushed. The fans are going to crush them. And deservingly so, game to game. But overall, we have to have a little bit of clarity if we can, to be honest with you, because it's 3 games in, guys. So we got to do a little bit better than that. Seriously. But listen, check us out on all the platforms, at Jets Guru on Instagram, at Guru Jets on Twitter, Jets Guru on YouTube, and Jets Guru on Facebook as well. As far as the score is concerned, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 24-17. Uh, Jets lose this game. The offense looks a lot better. Zach Wilson throws for 2 touchdowns. Amendola gets a field goal, but ultimately, Derrick Henry is just a bit too much. Extends drives, and they're able to score and put points on the board. I'm very interested to see how the Jets defense handles Derrick Henry because again, they faced a lot of guys, a lot of little quick cut guys. Nobody really pound type of a running back like this. I'm interested to see how that defensive line and the linebacking core holds up. Guys like Mosley, I want to see how, he's a lot lighter this year, more of a coverage type of guy. He looks like a safety sometimes when he's running out there. He's done such an excellent job getting his body in shape and ready for the season. You got to be impressed with that. So, and, this is I expect this now. And in next week or the week after, we're going to revisit the schedule, go over the schedule, and see like, okay, what coming ahead? What's this going to look like? Is it possible the Jets can have a 2 or 3 win season? Well, when you're 0-3, sure, it's a possibility. It's a long season. There's a lot of games left. There's going to be injuries on both sides. The Jets can get into rhythm, so it is what it is. And, Victor says our run defense started slow, just like last year. I don't even think our run defense has started slow. I think we've been playing well. I mean, like I said, besides the McCaffrey game, I think the Jets did an all right job. Especially because the offense has been so damn bad, man. And eventually you run out of gas, late third, early fourth quarter. You just, teams start running the football, try to take the clock off, and you're tired. You get pounded. You got no points on the board. So it's not an easy scenario. But listen, guys, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all the support, like always. Amazing people. Hope to be at the games pretty soon. Meet up and meet all you guys. And Section 7 will be Lot 7 will be out there with Euros and Michelle and the crew. Some of the best Jet fans in the game. And as always, check out our Sunday show. Me and Kevin do. You can find that on any audio platform that you listen to: Google, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. We're on there. We're doing it. We're trying to do the thing out here, and you guys are helping us by each month. We just keep growing. No setbacks here. Full steam ahead. The Jets may have had some setbacks, but not here on Jets Guru. We're moving forward. We're doing great. Things keep getting better. We got JR, the producer. JR, what you got, man? What you got for the score, man? Give me the score. I got 24-17. Let the people know. What do you got for this game here for the Jets against Titans? No volume. I don't hear you, man.
There we go. I was on mute.
There it is.
I'm back. I'm back. So actually had the same score as Kevin, 27-10 Titans.
Okay.
I actually got our first win.
I mean,
our first win.
If it's 27.
I got our first win coming against Atlanta Falcons in London. That'll be our first dub, I see.
Yeah, I mean that could be a win for the Jets. Atlanta hasn't looked great, but again, the Jets have to show the ability to be able to score points. It's all good and dandy that the Jets defense can bend not break, but you keep getting put into that scenario, eventually they're going to get a touchdown or two on you, whether that's running the football or special teams or field goals, whatever it is. I mean, the Jets can't even muster up enough drives to put some field goals on the board, and then as the game gets on, defensive coordinators get, they get a little bit more confident because you see the time is starting to roll off the clock, and you're like, well, this team, basically needs 3 possessions to even tie. There's just not enough time. So then you start pinning your ears back and going after their young quarterback and stuff. So the Jets have to slow this game down so that way the scheme slows down,
Yes.
and the way the defense attacks you is differently. Like as soon as you start having Zach throwing all over the field and you start giving them good field position and all that, once you get past 14 points, 2 possessions, and you're in the second half, you're asking a lot of your rookie quarterback. You're asking them to score 3 touchdowns to win the game, and it's just not easy to do. And especially when you're playing a team with a good defense, they pin their ears back, boom, couple sacks, couple bad throws with a quarterback who's trying to press the ball. It's not like he would maybe even make some of those throws during the course of the game, but they have to do something, and that's the thing that I don't like. It's like you're forcing your quarterback to have to do something. It's like just
Right.
run the football, take the time off the clock. If you're gonna get your butt whipped by 20 anyway, do it where you're not exposing every little thing that your quarterback has to offer. So, I think we're all learning. We're learning this team. They're learning each other. So it's going to take time to see what they actually become. Because right now, they have no identity. Are they a passing team? Are they a running team? Are they more tight end dominant or receiver dominant? Are they more of a just kind of a brawler team up front, or are they more of like an athletic type of wing team, swings on the the edges? What type of team are they? Well, we don't know right now because they haven't put the ball in the end zone, so we don't know what they are. But either way, thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next Thursday. So it's an unfortunate situation, but what are you guys going to quit and become? I don't know. We can't be Patriots fans, or I mean, what are we going to be if we quit as Jets fans, Dolphin fans? We're going to go West Coast, be a 49ers fan. I mean, come on. You guys are clowns. Nobody wants to hear about no 49ers. You got 49ers sitting here too. But Yeah, man, it's a real tough. It's just it's tough to watch, but this is our life. And how about this, man? When the Jets actually turn around and do something good, and it's gonna happen, we are even more blessed as fans because nobody can say anything to us. Like when the Jets are good, everybody's quiet because like they even root for us sometimes because they're like, oh look at these guys, like we're like the charity case. They're finally good again. Like, hey, like that's good. So we are who we are. And listen, basketball season's gearing up. The Knicks, baby, they are going to be a winning team this year. So at least the Mets let us down. The Yankees might let us down. The Rangers always let us down. Islanders are all right, but I mean, do you really count that? I'm not sure. But the Knicks, man, the Knicks are going to be good. So, and they're right around the corner. So hang in there. It's only game 3. We got a lot of games and heartache and big plays. There's that game in there. I could see it. 303 touchdown game from Zach Wilson. It's gonna come over
I
time.
hope.
Let this kid get acclimated and figure it out. It's gonna come. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are out of here. Jets Guru out.
All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it. Hate means I do something right. So I'ma let 'em. Yeah, I'ma let 'em, yeah.